I often suspect that my elder sister can see things that I cannot. When there's no one else around, it's just the two of us. She lies on the bed, raising her small fists in the air, her eyes filled with madness. Wow, a big bowl of spicy hot pot. I eat, eat. Oh, and a cup of purple taro bubble tea. I drink, drink. Wow, fried chicken, hamburgers, French fries, potato chips, cake. Hurry up and jump into my mouth. Each time she did that, I couldn't help but crawl a little further away. I was afraid she might eat me too. Our mother named my lively sister Hi Nhi. I was quieter, so mother called me Xao Nhi. Our parents were servants of the Chao family. My father was trampled by a horse and broke his ribs while protecting the young master. Not long after, he passed away. My sister and I were born into servitude, children of a widow. In this life, no one but our master can decide my fate, not even my husband. I am glad not to be beaten to death by a butcher husband as in my past life. But the price is a life of servitude, and our descendants can only be servants too. From a young age, we were taught how to serve our master. The first word our mother taught us wasn't father or mother, but madam. Everything we have is given by the madam. She is our sky. All the Chao family listens only to the madam. If madam wants us to die, we must die. If madam encounters trouble, we must risk our lives without hesitation. Every time this happened, my sister would hide behind our mother and make faces at me. I couldn't help but laugh, which quickly earned me a stern glare from our mother. During the day, I listened to my mother's lengthy lectures, and at night, my sister imparted her rebellious philosophies. Don't listen to what mother says. If anything happens, the bodyguards will protect madam. Don't be foolish and charge in. We only have one life. We need to save money for ourselves. If we can leave the Chao family and start our own business later, that would be great. Mother was busy taking care of the young master, so my sister and I relied on each other to grow up. I often heard my sister mumbling things like wireless network and calculator. I don't know what calculator is, but I understand net. In my previous life, when living in poverty, I had cast fishing nets a few times. So on her 10th birthday, I personally wove a fishing net to give to my sister. At first, she didn't understand what it was, but after I explained, she was laughing heartily. She pinched my cheek. My little sister is too cute. I frowned, slapping her hand, thinking that maybe I was even older than her. My sister took out 2 steamed buns as if offering a treasure. How can a birthday be without a birthday cake? I blinked, seriously corrected her. These are steamed buns. She stuck her tongue out at me and somehow pulled out 2 candles. With a somewhat defiant tone, I said it's a birthday cake, so it is a birthday cake. She forcefully stuck the candles into the buns and urged me to close my eyes and make a wish. I was already accustomed to her antics, so I closed my eyes and sincerely wished. I hope my sister is always happy. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw my sister smiling at me. I asked curiously, "Did you make a wish?" She smiled. "My wish is to bring you to our time. That way, I can give you a real birthday cake, take you to an amusement park, and eat ice cream." She rattled off countless dishes that sounded delicious. Finally, she said wistfully, "It would be wonderful if you were in our time. It would surely be interesting." Her expression became lost, and her voice suddenly stopped. I was listening intently, not expecting her to stop abruptly. "Why did you stop talking? Do you really want to hear more?" My sister might have held back for a long time, seeing me nod, and immediately continued talking incessantly. That night, she told me many things I had never imagined. It also opens a door for us to a new world. Elder sister's personality is lively, and moreover, she has a distinct charisma. When the young lady is pregnant, the young master looks at her with a deeper and more incomprehensible gaze than before. The young master has blatantly hinted, and elder sister also realizes it. From then on, every day she carries a heavy burden of thoughts. That evening, it was rare for her not to tease me, but instead seriously ask, "Do you think the young master loves the young lady?" I was full of admiration, my voice full of anticipation. Of course. When the young lady suffers from morning sickness, The young master immediately orders to buy the sour plums she likes most and even sends for the best doctor. Elder sister gently taps my forehead. Too naive. Can mere orders be called love? If he truly loves her, why keep multiple wives and concubines? Elder sister sighs. A man's heart can be shared with many people. I somewhat don't understand. But hasn't the matter of multiple wives and concubines always been like that? Just because it has always been like that, does it mean it's right? Hearing elder sister's question, I felt like something was about to burst out of the ground. She stroked my hair and softly said, "A while ago, I heard that the young master gifted one of his concubines to a close friend who often comes for drinks. If treated like merchandise and bartered, I'd rather die. I'd rather marry an honest farmer, and even if I die, I wouldn't be a concubine," I softly said. Being the main wife in a commoner's household is not easy either. In my past life, just because I talked to a regular customer for a few sentences, I was suspected of being indecent by the butcher and was beaten to death. Countless women have a fate like mine. Elder sister thought of something and surprisingly nodded. That's right. Then let's not get married anymore in the future. I burst into laughter. How can that be? Parents won't agree, and the madam won't agree either. Ultimately, maidservants with some beauty like us will be rewarded by the madam to the eye-pleasing servants to win their favor. No one will care about how we think. Elder sister sighed, resting her chin as she lamented. Even 1,000 years later, people still push for marriage, let alone now. I really hope I can save more money, and when I can plead for grace from the madam, then I will take you and leave the Chow family. That day, as I was cleaning, a young maid rushed in frantically. Sister Hi Nhi is about to be beaten to death by the madam. Hurry up and check it out. I felt the back of my neck tingling, suddenly thinking of Elder sister's words about the young master, vaguely guessing something. I told her to quickly report to my mother while I rushed to the madam's place. I hadn't even stepped into the room when I smelled a strong scent of blood. Right after was the madam's scolding voice. I initially considered your mother's years of serving me, intending to find a decent place for you to marry, but to think you are so despicable. It also opens a door for us to a new world. The personality of my elder sister is lively. Moreover, she has a unique charisma. When the young mistress becomes pregnant, the young master looks at her with an even deeper and more enigmatic gaze than before. The young master hints conspicuously, and elder sister also realizes it. From then on, every day, she carries a heavy burden of worries. That evening, it was rare for her not to tease me, but rather seriously ask, "Do you think the young master loves the young mistress?" With admiration and anticipation in my voice, I replied, "Of course." When the young mistress is ill with morning sickness, the young master immediately orders people to buy her favorite sour plums and sends for the best doctor. Elder sister lightly taps my forehead. Too naive. Is mere ordering considered love? If he truly loves her, why has he many wives and concubines? Elder sister sighs. A man's heart can be shared with many. I somewhat don't understand, but hasn't the idea of multiple wives and concubines been around forever? Just because it's always been doesn't mean it's right. Hearing elder sister's question, I feel something stirring within me. She strokes my hair and softly says, "A while back, I heard that the young master gifted one of his concubines to a close friend who often came to drink. If I were treated like merchandise, bartered away, I'd rather die. I'd rather marry an honest farmer. Even if I die, I wouldn't become a concubine," I replied softly. Being the principal wife in a commoner's house is not easy either. In my past life, just for conversing a bit with a regular customer, I was suspected by the butcher as indecent and beaten to death. Countless women share my fate. Elder sister thinks and surprisingly nods. Indeed, maybe we shouldn't get married anymore. I laugh. How could that be? Our parents wouldn't agree, nor would the madam. Ultimately, maidservants with a bit of beauty like us would be given by the madam to eye-pleasing servants to win their favor. No one would care about our thoughts. Elder sister sighs, resting her chin, lamenting. Even 1,000 years later, people would still push for marriage, let alone now. I really hope I can save enough silver. Later, when I can plea for leniency from the madam, I'll take you and leave the Chow family." That day, while I was cleaning, a young maid rushed in anxiously. "Sister Hi Nhi is about to be beaten to death by the madam. Quickly go have a look." Feeling a chill at the back of my neck, recalling elder sister's words about the young master, I vaguely sensed something. I tell her to report to my mother, while I hurried to the madam's place. Before even entering, I smell the intense stench of blood. Right after that is the madam's furious scolding voice. "I had originally considered your mother's years of service and intended to find a decent place for you to marry. But to think you are so contemptible. You brazen one. Have you been dreaming of my position all along?" Elder sister's weak voice sounds unyielding. "Please, madam, consider this carefully. I never seduced the estate master." I couldn't believe it was the estate master. Elder sister often complained to me that the estate master was old and bald enough to be her grandfather. With elder sister's proud nature, how could she fancy the estate master? She wouldn't even want to be one of the young master's concubines. Disregarding etiquette, I rushed into the madam's room. Elder sister lay sprawled on the floor like a lifeless body, the lower half soaked in blood, yet her head still steadfastly raised. I kneel at the madam's feet, clutching her skirt tightly, bowing repeatedly. "Please, madam, consider this carefully. Elder sister has always been loyal to you, never intending to betray." My presence seemed to infuriate the madam more. "It seems I've been too lenient with you all, and none of you think highly of me anymore." She kicked me hard in the chest, and I immediately struggled to breathe. That moment, my mother also rushed in. I looked at her in despair, hoping she could speak for elder sister. Unexpectedly, she didn't even glance at us, but knelt before the madam. "They're merely servants. Madam can punish and kill them as she wishes. I only hope you take care of yourself and don't harm your health over us lowly ones." Upon hearing this from my mother, it seemed the madam had calmed somewhat. She waved us away. Mother respectfully bowed, intending to help me up, but I avoided her. Elder sister lay slumped on the bed, breathing weakly, with lips cracked and pale. Once vibrant like a sunflower, now she was withering. I took a cloth to wipe sweat from her forehead. Tears couldn't help streaming down. Elder sister struggled to lift her lips into a smile, her voice weak. "You cry so hideously." Unable to hold back, I clutched the bed edge and cried loudly. Elder sister turned away, not daring to look at me. Her voice shook. "My silver is in the trunk. Take it." I sniffled, leaning into her embrace. "But I don't need silver. I need you." "Foolish girl, just hold it for me." I thought about being able to retain memories upon reincarnation. If this life is this way, perhaps the next will be too. Maybe one day, I could indeed return this silver to elder sister. I told her all about my ability to reincarnate. Finally, I asked, "If we can truly meet in the future, what should I do to help you?" Hearing this, elder sister's eyes gradually brightened. She thought seriously. On the 9th day of the 9th month in 2025, in Jiang Province, Guanghan City, at the intersection of Peace Road and Red Star Road, I was struck on the head by an advertisement falling from the sky. After being hit, I came to this era. "If we meet in the future, please save me." Her voice overflowed with tears, increasingly trembled as she spoke. "I don't want to return to this cannibalistic era. I miss mother. I want to go home." That night, elder sister passed away. I took care of her relics, placing the hairpin intended for her inside a box. Last time during the Lantern Festival, elder sister looked at this hairpin several times. Yet it was too expensive. I saved all year to buy it, originally intended as a surprise for her. I resented my mother, not wanting elder sister to use the coffin she bought. Mother sorrowfully said, "Hi Nhi is my flesh and blood. How can I not grieve? But if I don't comfort the madam, I might lose another child." In the house, no one cared about elder sister's departure. Everything proceeded as usual. Later, I overheard maidservants gossiping. It turns out that day the estate master drank too much and forced elder sister during her night watch. The madam didn't want to confront him, yet sought to intimidate. beating elder sister 30 strokes to assert herself that I couldn't believe elder sister died for this reason. The battles between spouses, why use elder sister's life to threaten each other? That was when I understood. Not only husbands can end me, but masters can ruthlessly strike as well. That I continued living my role in the house. Until one night during duty, I was summoned to the estate master's room along with a young maid. Shortly after, I heard a weak cry for help. Estate master, Madam promised to marry me to someone else. Please spare me. Who could be better than me? Tomorrow I'll make you a concubine. Accompany me eating delicious food and drinking good wine. Sweet maiden, come here for a kiss. Estate master, Madam will kill me. Hi Nhi was also beaten to death. Please spare me. Shameless wench, too noisy, damn annoying. Slap, slap. 2 crisp slaps rang. The young maid screamed miserably and then fell silent. That I stood outside the door, emotions cold as ice, couldn't help but wonder, did my proud elder sister also once despairingly plead like that? Was the answer also 2 slaps? The cold wind seeping through my collar made me shiver. For the first time in my life, my mind became this clear that I slowly pushed open the estate master's door, drawing the dagger hidden by my leg. Meant to protect myself. But who says that daggers are just for defense? I stepped up behind the master, my eyes bloodshot. Many times in my dreams, I had imagined this scene, imagined turning back time to save my sister. I stabbed him over 10 times relentlessly. The master only managed to scream a few cries before he breathed his last. The little maid had long fainted. I turned around, heading straight to the madam's room. Tonight, I knew I wouldn't survive. So I might as well take this chance to avenge my sister. Perhaps because she had done so many evil deeds, the madam's sleep was very light. Normally, it was only my mother who watched over her. Upon seeing me covered in blood, my mother stood dumbfounded. That I quickly spoke first. The master is dead. There is an assassin. Quickly alert the madam. She hastily ran into the room to wake the madam. I followed closely behind, and as soon as the madam wasn't fully awake, I decisively thrust the knife into her chest. My mother was stunned, trembling as she pointed at me, opening her mouth several times, but unable to utter a coherent sentence. They killed my sister. They deserved to die. Recalling the look of my sister as she lay there lifeless, I couldn't hold back the tears that flowed. Looking at my mother, I choked up and questioned, "You knew very well that my sister was innocent, yet you sided with the madam. When my sister died, you were also an accomplice." She opened her mouth, but still, no words came out. I withdrew the knife from the madam's chest, gripping it tightly in my hand. "Now you can call the house servants to execute me. I am willing." My mother tried to say something, finally gritting her teeth to spit out 2 words. "Run quickly." She seemed even more urgent than I was. "Did anyone see you come? Quickly, come with me to change your clothes. Tonight nothing happened at all." I didn't see anything. Seeing me bewildered, she lowered her head, unable to meet my eyes. "Let me do one right thing for you and Hi Nhi." She helped me out of the room. From afar came the cries of the household guards. I knew I wouldn't be able to escape. I pushed my mother away, and under her shocked gaze, I used all my strength to plunge the knife into my own chest. Using my last breath, I shouted loudly, "There is an assassin. Mother, quickly protect the madam." Then gradually closed my eyes. That my soul hovered in the air, watching the guards comfort my mother, while she embraced my corpse, crying bitterly. I was satisfied with this life. At least it was more grand and heroic than the previous one. That I did not let down my mother's teachings. Nor did I forget the revenge for my sister. I drifted half awake for a long time in the darkness and finally saw a beam of light. When I stepped into that light, I heard some voices. An elderly woman's voice said, "Congratulations, master. Congratulations, madam. It's a baby girl." A young boy's voice exclaimed, "Let me see my sister. I finally have a sister." A calm male voice said, "Naughty boy, don't make noise. Let your mother and sister rest." A weak woman's voice echoed, "General, let me look at our daughter for a moment." Hearing those words, my heart gradually returned to peace. In this life, I came to the world filled with love. In this life, My origins were noble. My father was an official of the court, and my mother a noblewoman of gentry. From a young age, I was exposed to countless things that in my previous life I couldn't even dream of. I no longer had to learn how to serve tea or wait on a master. Instead, I learned literacy, music, chess, calligraphy, and needlework from my mother that I liked the quiet, whereas my brother was much more mischievous and active. He loved practicing martial arts, getting up early every morning to train in the yard. No matter the harsh winter or the scorching summer, he never skipped a day. For this, I deeply admired him. If you love something, you must give your all for it, not just give lip service. However, he took it too far by secretly enlisting in the army without telling the family. The day the recruitment letter arrived, my mother cried her heart out, and my father frowned tightly, not saying anything for a long time. My brother, still youthful in appearance, but his voice rang with firm determination. This life, my greatest ambition is to serve the country with devotion. Father, mother, please support your child's decision. My brother followed the army to the border, gone for 5 long years. Only when news returned did we learn he became a general personally appointed by the emperor. Though many years passed without seeing each other, the bond between us never weakened. He often sent me rare gifts from the borderlands, while my mother and I would hand-sew clothes for him. The day he returned triumphantly to the capital with the army, my whole family eagerly waited at the gate. A tall, lean yet robust figure quickly dismounted, kneeling with a loud thud before our parents. Father, mother, your child has returned. Your unfilial child has caused you worry. My mother and I cried soundlessly, for on his resolute, sun-darkened face, there was a fierce long scar stretching across half of it. Mentioning this, my brother seemed unbothered. The emperor has shown me such profound grace. What is a little scar for the peace of the court? He became the mighty marshal general, a steadfast pillar of the dynasty. Thanks to him, my marriage prospects also received much attention. My mother helped arrange meetings to select a suitable husband, asking me if I had any requirements. After thinking for a moment, I offered only one condition. I want to be the head lady of the household. There was still one thing I hadn't said. I wanted to be someone who could control my own destiny, not a concubine or a maid who could be mistreated or killed at will. But I didn't wait for the day my mother arranged my marriage. Instead, I received an imperial decree taking me into the palace as a consort. Because of my gentleness and virtue, the emperor bestowed upon me the title of noble consort that I once belonged to the lowest class, so I never made things difficult for the servants. In my many years in the harem, I have never quarreled or gotten angry with anyone. I am content with my current life. Although I am not the head lady of the family, I still hold a noble position. I will never again be like in my past life, treated like an object and unjustly humiliated. Over the years, the emperor and I have been very affectionate, and for the first time in 3 lifetimes, I have experienced the sweetness of love, but not everything is perfect. My only sorrow is that I cannot bear a child for His Majesty. I was once pregnant, but unfortunately, my body was too weak and the child couldn't be kept. Whenever this is mentioned, I cannot help but feel pained. At such times, His Majesty would comfort me by holding my shoulder. Perhaps it's that the heavens are envious of our affection and don't wish to bless us more. Having you is enough for me in this life. That gentleness captivated me completely. What reassured me even more was that His Majesty valued my elder brother. Another winter came. As usual, I was sitting in the palace reading when my close maid rushed in. Your Highness, there is great news. General Oai Vu has reclaimed the Yen back region, something no one has done in hundreds of years. He has achieved it. I was astonished and put down my book. Yen back had been given away by the previous dynasty to foreign tribes, occupied for hundreds of years, and now finally, this humiliation had ended at my brother's hand. Surely, His Majesty must also be very pleased, right? That evening, His Majesty came to my chamber to visit me. I invited him to drink with me, laughing and talking happily. I was delighted that my brother had returned safely and was even prouder for his great military achievement. But I did not notice His Majesty's stiff expression. I never proactively inquired about political affairs, nor did I send people to investigate. Even though I was not sensitive to politics, I sensed a tense atmosphere in court. Clearly, reclaiming lost land was a good thing, so why were the officials criticizing my brother? This was the first time I asked about political matters. The information I received was, during the time he led the army, my brother lived among the soldiers, seeming to have the intention of undermining their loyalty. I was stunned. Could this also be considered a crime? What I couldn't accept more was that His Majesty believed these rumors and then imprisoned my brother. My brother had devotedly served His Majesty. Had he not noticed that? I couldn't sit still and immediately went to find His Majesty. I have no other way. I cannot stop the lawsuits against General Oivu. Do not worry, my beloved. In a while, I will release him. I believed him. Thinking that my brother in prison must be having a hard time, I sent people to bring him food. I also sent word that His Majesty would find a way to save him. But it seemed my brother was not very optimistic. Every day, I counted on my fingers, calculating when my brother would be released. But all I received was a message. He had died by suicide in prison due to the fear of crime. I had been in the palace for many years, and this was the first time I lost my composure. I rushed into His Majesty's study, demanding an explanation. Unexpectedly, His Majesty seemed like a different person. Gone was the gentleness, replaced with a tone I had never heard. Consort, perhaps I have overly indulged you, leading you to forget your manners. Guards, from now on, consort is to be confined, and without my command, no one is to visit her. I was thus bewilderedly imprisoned by the emperor. For years, I had not participated in the harem fights nor involved myself in political affairs. In this deep palace, I was like one with blind eyes and deaf ears. Thankfully, I had always been good to the palace maids, so someone dared to risk conveying news about my parents to me. When I learned that my father had died of illness and my mother had committed suicide, everything went dark before my eyes that I gripped the farewell letter from my father before he passed. My chest tightened, and I spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. I was filled with regret. Clearly, my sister had said that men's hearts are not to be trusted. Why did I fall for those sweet lies? Afraid of my brother's military power, he used baseless excuses to have him killed. And my unborn child, it was him, the very father who caused its death. I once thought I held the reins of my fate, but in the end, I was just a pawn in his hands. Misplaced affection, misplaced trust and promises. I was truly too foolish, too foolish. All that remains is hatred in my eyes. My parents, my child, my brother, all died tragically because of him. Such a despicable, selfish person is not worthy of being emperor. I used all my wealth to bribe the courtiers around the emperor, hoping to place a gold hairpin on his table. This was the gold hairpin he had crafted for me. When I received it, I was deeply touched. But now that I think about it, it's ridiculous. My sister wasn't wrong. Spoken love is the cheapest. Why did I fall for it before? Finally, the emperor came to my room as promised. I pretended to be coy, crying and throwing myself into his arms, deliberately nuzzling my head into his chest. Just because of my impulsive actions, I made the emperor angry, and today I am willing to accept punishment. I swear not to say a word more. My nature is inherently quiet, not prone to acting coquettish like that. Perhaps because he's never seen me like this before, the emperor was a bit gentler with me. He held my waist, his voice softened. How could I blame you? You are the beloved consort whom I cherish. Then, he took the golden hairpin I gave him and gently pinned it into my hair. My shoulder bared. With a shy glance, I led him to the chaise lounge. As our clothes were discarded and our bodies intertwined, I paused and asked, "Does the emperor know who killed my elder brother?" The emperor's face immediately turned pale, his tone cold. Could it be that the consort is mistaken? General Oivu committed suicide. You do know I found the dragon robes in his house, right? If it weren't for his contributions to the country, he should have been torn to pieces. I chuckled softly, reaching under his body. So were those dragon robes not hidden by your own hands? The emperor was enraged, about to scold me, but immediately, his expression changed profoundly. Rude, unafraid. I took hold of two objects, clenched my hand tight, and squeezed hard. You harmed me, so I cannot bear children. I will ensure you cannot have children too. I consider this debt forgiven. The emperor screamed in agony. He clutched his lower body, contorting like a shrimp. In such pain he nearly passed out. I sneered, lifted the hairpin he gifted me, and pulled it from my hair. If these eyes have gone blind, there's no use keeping them. As he writhed in pain, I used the hairpin to blind him. By the time the soldiers rushed in, the emperor had become a eunuch void of sight. Facing the cold weapons, I yelled out, accusing the emperor of his crimes. Faithful ministers and officers have been slaughtered, the court riddled with conspirators. This foolish, incompetent emperor slaughtering loyal servants will wear disgrace for eternity. How dare you speak so disrespectfully to the emperor? Hearing this rebuke, I laughed out. A blinded fool like you dares to claim the title of emperor? Fallen, forgotten, General Oai Vu's punishment will be your future. I will look down from above, waiting for the day you face retribution when the barbarian tribes come down from the north to see what end your court meets. Upon hearing these words from me, the emperor roared with hatred, his voice shredding through. Seize her. Execution by slicing. Execution by slicing. I want to slice each bit of her flesh while alive. I want her cut to pieces. Dream on. I raised the golden hairpin to my neck. My life. Only I can decide it. I will look up from the afterlife and watch as the blind eunuch emperor becomes a laughingstock for all eternity. With these words, I took the golden hairpin and decisively stabbed it into my neck. When living wasn't easy, dying became incredibly simple. Familiar darkness. Pain spreads across my neck. In this darkness, I thought a lot. I used to believe I would live happily into old age, but unexpectedly everything was part of a plot by the one I shared a pillow with. That I regret my foolishness. In my previous life, I was beaten to death by my husband. Yet in this life, I still believed in a man's lies. That I thought the emperor would be different from commoners, but ultimately their nature is the same. When needing to plead, he treats you well. The more he desires something, the more he indulges you. But when you slip and lose value, he will tear you apart like a piece of meat. Thus, when I reincarnated once more, I had no choice but to enter the palace to become a maiden. I bribed the governess, hoping she could arrange for me to serve beside the princess. That I end this life, I will not repeat past mistakes. I will neither be a concubine to the emperor nor a companion to the prince. That I was arranged to serve beside Princess Hoa Duong, becoming her closest maid. Governess said she was the most favored princess in the royal family, treating others kindly, without a hint of arrogance. Many fought fiercely just to serve beside her, but within a day, I regretted it. Princess Hoa Duong Lai Lin too, turned 15 this year, truly has a gentle nature, yet far too lively. I really couldn't understand how such a small body could constantly overflow with energy, how her mind perpetually brimmed with quirky ideas. Usually, it's one thing to follow her mischievousness. But that day, after watching the military parade, she locked herself in her room, only to issue an earth-shattering decree when she emerged. She wanted to form a female army. Titan, what do you think of my idea? I pressed my lips tight, ultimately deciding to lie. Princess's idea is truly brilliant. Let her have her fun, if that's what she wants. Anyway, she'll be interested only for a while. Hearing me, the princess was immediately uplifted, filled with brave spirit. Good. Go call all the palace maidens here. I want to train them. On the vast square, rows of palace maidens stood in formation. Everyone murmured, unsure what kind of act the princess was up to. Some even complained about unfinished work in their hands. Only when the princess appeared did they fall silent. She stood in the center, her eyes bright, imagining something. Seeing the crooked rows of maidens, she loudly announced, "Surely Titan has told you already. From now on, you are the soldiers of Lai Lin too." Usually, the princess isn't the least bit arrogant, so the palace maidens bravely asked back, "Is the princess joking? How could women become soldiers?" That's right. Wielding a spear in battle is a man's duty. We only need to learn embroidery and sewing. Lai Lin Tu's eyes burned with ambition, full of heroic spirit. Nonsense. Why can men do what women cannot? The lack of precedent is even better. I want to set this precedent and become the first female general in the world. Lai Lin Tu wasn't joking. When the news spread, the whole world was abuzz with stories of this princess who did not know her limits. No one believed she could train a female army, and they all awaited her downfall. The martial generals despised her, and no matter how high a price she offered, no one agreed to teach her. So she humbled herself, begging others in hopes of finding someone willing to teach. But upon hearing they must train female soldiers, they all waved her away. She didn't get angry. Instead, she stayed up late studying, then taught us what she learned. Perhaps there really is such a thing as natural talent, because her female soldiers eventually took shape. We were no longer the fragile branches swaying before the wind, but began to possess the lethal spirit of soldiers. She named us Lady Army. Although different from the male armies, just by the name, you know this army was established by women. The first time the Lady Army appeared to the world was at the royal hunting ground. That day, the emperor was hunting when suddenly a group of assassins appeared out of nowhere. The emperor, engrossed in the chase, had ventured too far, accompanied only by a few guards, the rest being over 100 female soldiers led by Lai Lin Tuesday. The assassins had planned in advance, knowing there were no reinforcements, hoping to seize this chance to kill the emperor. They surrounded us, intending to slaughter from the outside in. In the moment of danger, Lai Lin Tu stepped forward, clad in a bright red battle robe like fire. Holding a spear, her voice rang out like thunder. "Lady Army, hear my command. Follow me out." The response was a piercing shout unique to women, shaking the sky. "Lady Army, kill, kill, kill." The princess led the charge, paving the way. Our group of female soldiers fought desperately, until finally, reinforcements arrived. The emperor was saved. The court acknowledged the Lady Army's status for the first time. But within me, a vague sense of worry emerged. I hesitated for a long time before finally expressing my concern. "Your Highness, do you remember the eunuch emperor?" She smiled playfully. "Isn't it Titan testing me? The reputation of that eunuch emperor is known to all. He blinded both his eyes and heart, burning bridges for fear of subordinates. That concubine, with exceptional spirit, avenged her brother and ultimately pierced herself with a golden pin, making that evil emperor a laughingstock for ages." My face blushed slightly, and after a cough, I continued, "What I want to say is this. Before, people thought female soldiers were a joke, but now, an innocent man gets into trouble because of a rare jade." Lai Lin Tu lowered her head, silent for a long time before speaking. "I will think of something, rest assured. As part of the Lady Army, I would risk my life to protect you all. No matter what the future holds, I will find you a safe haven." The princess requested to expand the female army, and His Majesty agreed. The princess volunteered to guard the border, and His Majesty agreed as well. We followed Lai Lin Tu, leaving the opulent palace behind and stepping into the cold borderlands. Winter had just arrived, and the Man tribes started invading southward for plunder. A small skirmish every 3 days, a big one every 5. The princess personally led the Lady Army into battle many times, always victorious. Unfortunately, the blade knows no mercy. She was still injured. When I hurriedly entered the tent, at a glance, I saw her left hand was heavily bandaged. Her lips were chapped, eyelashes trembling, sleeping fitfully. Afraid of disturbing her, I quietly stepped out. Seeing the female soldiers all huddled like roe deer, I asked solemnly, "How was the princess injured?" A female soldier came forward, tearfully and tremblingly replied, "The princess was protecting me when an arrow pierced her hand. It's my fault." She drew a dagger. "Wah, I will cut off my hand to atone with the princess." With that, she attempted to stab her left hand. I grabbed the dagger, sternly shouting, "Foolishness! Wouldn't that make the princess's pain useless?" The female soldier bowed her head, sobbing, "I just want to remind myself never to be negligent again." lest I harm our comrades, harm the princess. Seeing her self-blame, I had a red ink brought and left a crimson mark on the back of her hand. This will serve as your reminder, won't it? No more hurting yourself, or the princess will be angry. The female soldiers gathered around, intrigued, began saying, Lady Titan, I want a mark too. Me too. I also want to remind myself, so I'm not a burden to everyone. Count me in. Seeing that heroic spirit, I let all the female soldiers leave red marks on the backs of their left hands. A female soldier, stroking her mark, said, In the future, I'll put this mark on my daughter's hand too, to remind her mother's comrades will always help her. That's right. Whoever sees a red mark must look out for each other. But what if someone impersonates it? She pondered for a moment and then replied, As long as one acknowledges the women of the Nuang-Tu army, why not lend a hand? The princess was about to get married. Yet, she was the last to know about it. On the day the army returned triumphantly to the capital, I accompanied the princess to attend the banquet. During the feast, a high-ranking official suddenly stood up, his face serious. Women are inherently weak. They should stay at home to handle embroidery, take care of their husbands, and teach their children. This is their calling. Once he finished speaking, most of the dignitaries agreed. Men should be outside. Women should be inside. That is the natural way. The battlefield ultimately does not suit women. Moreover, if women are constantly seen outside, where are the morals, family traditions? Over time, it would surely cause a disruption of customs. In the Great Hall, discussions demanding women return to the inner chambers were endless. The princess stood in the middle of the hall, adorned in a magnificent court dress, still exuding a chilling aura. She slowly scanned the high-ranking officials, her gaze as sharp as a blade. Gentlemen, today you have chilled my heart excessively. Heaven and earth have always viewed women as weak, merely due to prejudice. My sisters on the battlefield have never been inferior to men. Moreover, the country's fate involves even the common citizens. Women are also the people of the nation. When the country is in danger, why use gender as a measure to deprive them of their right to protect the homeland? A young official stepped forward, gently speaking. The princess's words are reasonable, but women being outside for a long time, in general, bring many inconveniences. If prolonged, it may cause family discord, social instability. The princess laughed coldly. The words spoken by the official are wrong. Whether a family is harmonious or not, it's due to human hearts, not because women are outside. The sisters in Nuang-Tu army all possess loyalty and filial piety, willing to devote themselves to the nation, ready to pay the price. If you only wish to suppress their talents and ambitions due to prejudice, then that is a loss more than gain. In the end, the emperor was the one to decide. He arranged a marriage for the princess with a literary official of the great prince. He also ordered the withdrawal of her military power. After the banquet, I went to the princess's room. She wore a splendid floral dress, leaned against the soft couch, her eyes dimly looking out the window, resembling a child who had just lost their goal. Princess, I quietly called, pulling her back to reality. She reluctantly forced a smile. If the princess does not wish to marry, you may seek out the great prince for a conversation. After all, he is your brother. My first reaction was to advise her to seek help from the great prince. In my past life, the relationship between me and my brother was very good. If I did not want to marry, my brother definitely would not force me. But the princess gently explained the relationship within it. The military power in her hand was the chess piece the emperor left for the next emperor. Whom the emperor married her to was synonymous with choosing the successor to the throne. Finally, the emperor chose the great prince. She lightly sighed, shook her head. The situation is already determined. It's useless. I couldn't believe it. He is your brother after all. How could it be this way? She smiled bitterly. Being a brother, does it matter? Isn't the world full of stories of brotherly conflict? Only at that moment did I realize that not only spouses and masters are unreliable, but even siblings. I gritted my teeth. What is important about military power? Let it go. The person we recognize as princess, not the power in your hand. As long as the princess wishes, our Nuong Tu army is ready to support you in becoming the first queen in history. Even I didn't realize how much I had been influenced by my sisters. I boldly uttered such outrageous words without changing my expression. Lai Lin Tu's eyes shifted slightly, but she eventually shook her head. Blades are created to point at outside enemies, not to confront one's own people. Hearing these words, I knew that the ambitious Princess Lai Lin Tu finally had a weakness. The Nuong Tu army is her weakness. After the emperor promised to treat the Nuong Tu army well, the princess eventually agreed to marry. The vibrant and carefree princess was no more, replaced by the minister's wife, confined within the rules of the inner chamber. After marriage, she seldom appeared before others, gradually disappearing from the world's view. She and the consort had no affection. It wasn't until she got married that she realized the consort already had a beloved childhood sweetheart. In order to claim the throne, the great prince instructed him to feign deep affection and propose to the princess. That year, heavy snow fell on the capital like an ominous omen. Indeed, the Man tribe was struck by a natural disaster, exhaustively launching an attack southwards. The new emperor had just ascended, but the armies guarding the territories were not their match. The foreign tribes pressed straightforwardly outside the city. The new emperor dispatched his most elite troops to defend, but suffered great defeat at the city outskirts. The foreign menace drew near, blades pointed straight at the capital, but within the palace, there was no more military force to dispatch. As despair encroached upon everyone, someone mentioned the Nuong Tu army. The Nuong Tu army had once defended the border for 8 years. They are the ones most familiar with the foreign tribes. Maybe they could still fight. That statement was like a stone falling into a tranquil lake, stirring up waves. The imperial edict from the palace was issued. The princess who was once confined to her chamber once again donned her battle armor. Lai Lin Tu seized the opportunity, leading the Nuong Tu army directly into the central forces of the enemy troops. The enemy formation immediately fell into disarray, quickly splitting apart. The battle was extraordinarily catastrophic, with more than half of the Nuong Tu army suffering casualties. The Man tribe suffered heavy losses, with their entire elite force annihilated, preventing them from heading south again for at least 10 years. The entire nation rejoiced, and the prestige of Li Lin Tu and the Nuong Tu army reached its peak. Amidst the nationwide celebrations, the first order of the new emperor was to force the dowager of the Nuong Tu army to marry his bodyguard. On the surface, it was claimed, the ladies of the Nuong Tu army are getting older, and waiting any longer makes childbirth difficult. Marrying them to my bodyguards does not demean them. Perhaps he also knew that once married, women would be bound within the confines of their roles and would no longer dare think of leading troops into battle. This way, the Nuong Tu army would become a mere hollow title, no longer a threat to him. When I brought this news to the princess, who had already planned to retire to the inner chamber, she suddenly took action. She held lavish banquets and openly raised male favorites. The royal family, already a topic of gossip among the commoners, now had an outrageous princess stirring up scandalous tales throughout the streets and alleys. From a female general who protected the nation, she took only a few feasts to transform into a promiscuous woman scorned by society. The unspoken battle ended with the princess victorious. She used her own reputation to oppose the emperor. For the sake of royal dignity, the emperor had to concede. He allowed the Nuong Tu army the freedom of marriage without forcing them to marry anyone. But after this incident, no one wished to get married anymore. The princess handed all her assets to me to manage, instructing me to use them for charity. She said, "Wealth isn't brought into life nor taken after death. It's better to do some good with it to prevent it from falling into the hands of others." I used that money to support abandoned girls, establishing Duc on Duong. All the girls who grew up at Duc on Duong had a red mark on the back of their hands. I told them about the origin of this mark and shared the old stories of the princess. I told them, there once was a brave woman who stood up to fight, claiming equal rights with men. Sadly, she failed. She was forced back into the inner quarters, no longer free. Nonetheless, her actions spoke to all the women in the world. You have many paths to choose from. During their coming-of-age ceremony, I would have these girls swear an oath before the eternal tablet of Lilin too. Today we pledge, vowing to be sisters, united in our goals, unwavering in our oath. Together through storms and hardships, never to part. Let this vow remain unchanging, witnessed by heaven and earth. This was the pledge all the ladies of the Nuong Tu army made together. Without Lilin Tu, there would be no Nuong Tu army, let alone Dukon Duong as it exists today. The peaceful days didn't last long. The princess fell ill. I scoured medical texts, but could not find a cure for her condition. The physician's diagnosis was just a few words: depression in the mind. In her final days, she grasped my hand tightly, trying to say something. I understood what she wanted to ask. Nuong Tu army is doing well, and Dukon Duong is also doing well. Tears welled in her eyes as she closed them contentedly. In this life, I am the only one who can live to the end of my days. With the sisters of the Nuong Tu army, I raised and educated the children at Dukon Duong, teaching them to read and write. These young women were as intelligent as any man, managing the affairs of Dukon Duong with precision. Gradually, Dukon Duong gained some reputation, and some inns began hiring women. They paid women less than men, but the work required more meticulousness. Many merchants started accepting women as managers. In the end, Lilin Tu succeeded in opening a new door in a world dominated by men. Later, I awoke once more in the silent darkness. This time, the feeling was completely different. I seemed to have arrived in the world my elder sister once spoke of. Not until I saw my mother wrapping my feet with white fabric when I was 3 did I understand. This is not the era my sister spoke of. If you don't bind your feet, how will you ever marry a good husband? Somewhere in a previous life, I might have heard similar words, perhaps from my sister's mouth. If you don't learn to manage kitchen duties, how can your in-laws be satisfied later? If you only bear daughters, how can you hold your head high in your husband's family? Your strong personality is too much. What man could endure it? You spend money so lavishly. What man could afford to support you? You're so engrossed in work, neglecting household duties. How could any man endlessly tolerate it? You don't know how to do housework. Who would want to build a family with you? You don't dress up. How can you attract capable men? You don't know how to cook. Do you expect your husband to eat out every day? Through the generations, nothing much has changed. Everyone binds their feet. Endure a little, and it will pass. Bear the pain for a while, and later you will enjoy bliss. A big-footed woman will be laughed at for having no family upbringing. A good husband's family will choose modest, virtuous women. The smaller your feet, the less you'll have to labor, only living in comfort and ease. You'll understand your mother's worries when you grow up. In this life, my parents truly loved me, but this love made me feel suffocated. I held scissors to my neck. If you insist on binding my feet, I would rather die. At that moment, I truly wanted to die. These deeply rooted traditional constraints made me unable to breathe. I was angry with my mother for forcing me to break my healthy feet. My mother's feet were ulcerated, oozing pus and blood, terrifying to look at. The foot-binding cloth soaked in sweat and pus, each step unsteady, as if she might collapse. Clearly, my mother was also in pain, yet she wanted me to share it. But my mother had also been foot-bound. I couldn't blame her. She truly thought it was for my benefit. This love, full of pressure, made me extremely uncomfortable. If I couldn't persuade my mother, I would not want to live this life any longer. Fortunately, in the end, my mother still loved me. All right, no more binding. Just promise me you won't resent me. My family was from a literate and scholarly lineage. My grandfather was an official in the Qing dynasty. The etiquette was stricter than usual, with daily greetings to parents and serving meals. Since childhood, my father betrothed me. My fiancée was named Trin Vong, who studied abroad at a young age. I always plot to break off the engagement. But unexpectedly, when Trin Vong returned from overseas, he brought good news. "Uncle, I came to annul the engagement. The times have changed. Now we value free love. I have met the one I wish to marry abroad, and we are already legally wedded. Surely, you wouldn't want to force Sister Yuan Gi into the role of concubine. This time it's my fault. Punish me as you will, uncle. As long as it alleviates your anger, I am willing to compensate in any way. Seeing Trin Vong driven away by my father, my eyes sparkled, and I hurried after him. Sister Yuan Gi, this notion of a woman without talent as virtuous is outdated. An arranged marriage cannot bring happiness, so why hold on to it? Lazy to explain, I decisively let him misunderstand. If I want to become someone progressive like you, where should I go? Afraid of entanglement, Trin Vong promptly directed me to a school for women. If you truly wish to embrace progressive ideas, go to the female academy where my wife teaches. She studied abroad, invited to teach there, currently serving as an educator. I wasn't concerned about whether his wife was there or not. I only wanted progress. Where did you find this Qing dynasty relic? Was it unearthed from a tomb? I glanced at my loose-fitting attire that covered me completely, the polite smile on my lips pulling back into a straight line. Don't talk nonsense. This is my father's friend's daughter, Lu Yuyangi. Oh, so this is the wife your family arranged for you, huh? Trin Vong was about to speak when the woman in front of him interrupted him. She appraised me from head to toe, then proactively extended her hand. Hello, I'm Xao Nhi. I looked at her outstretched hand and turned away. Xao Nhi, unfazed, smiled brightly and took my hand, placing it in hers, still speaking nonstop. So let's consider ourselves acquainted now. Upon hearing that I was about to enter a girls' school, Xao Nhi took me shopping for clothing. Go outside and see who dresses like you these days. You don't resemble a person, nor a ghost. Anyone would think you're going to act in a play. I touched the pin in my hair and glanced at Tran Ni's long curly hair, letting her drag me along. 34. I unconsciously pulled my skirt down below my knees, my steps becoming awkward. Having lived through countless lifetimes, this was the first time I dressed like this. In the past, the inner garments were enough to cover the body, but now even my calves were exposed, as if I were wearing nothing and walking out on the street. It felt like everyone was staring at me, and my steps seemed unsteady. Xao and I took out a paper fan and lightly tapped it on me. Walk with your head held high and chest out. Don't be like a little bird. I looked down at my chest, still chest out. Silly, look at me. She walked ahead, and all I could see was her back. The qipao hugged her soft curves, each step gentle, causing the hem to sway. Her waist swayed smoothly and rhythmically. Left sway, right sway, left sway. She held her head high, walking and saying, "Do you see? That's how to be confident. Left, right, left, right. The more timid you are, the more you attract attention." I felt what she said was not accurate. Clearly on the street, everyone was pointing and talking about us. I felt that we were indeed the ones attracting all the attention now. My face flushed red, unable to bear it any longer. I hurriedly pulled my bag and ran out of the crowd. Sean and I saw me silent for a long time, turned around only to see my figure hurriedly running away. Hey, don't run. Do you know the way back? On the opening day, I got accustomed to the new style of dress and makeup of the women. I wore a blue school uniform, my hair braided into 2 pigtails, leaving no trace of my old appearance. Sean and I taught the foreign language class, but I wasn't very keen on learning another language. But her reasoning was irrefutable. If you don't learn a foreign language, when those old ghosts curse you and you don't understand, isn't it a waste? Anyway, learning a few curse words might be useful, so you can curse back. I also chose a medicine class. In my past life, I remembered quite a few remedies while caring for the princess' illness, so I could adjust them a bit this lifetime. When Trin Vong left, I moved in with Chan and I. I felt Chan and I was hiding something from me. She tried to act normal, but her face clearly showed distraction. Chan and I often locked herself in her room, saying she was doing translation work, fearing disturbance. Even when pregnant, she didn't have free time. I advised her not to overwork. She laughed brightly. With my future great physician here, what should I be afraid of? In class, a patrol group stormed in and arrested Chan and I while she was teaching. The principal asked around, and the conclusion was, using the pen name Tan Kanjia to publish treasonous ideas in monthly magazines, currently detained. I knew this pen name, Tan Kanjia, with Kanjia also meaning the people. Under this pen name, many articles encouraged free thought, urging people to unite against foreign invaders. They once scolded warlords for internal division and rulers for selfish indulgence. Sharp words directly exposing the truth. The writing style of Tan Kanjia, sometimes subtle, seeing big from small points, sometimes incredibly powerful. Little did I expect these articles to come from Chan and I. That day, there was no teaching at school, so I went straight home. Entering the door, I saw Trin Vong. "You're back." I hurriedly recounted the event of Chan and I being arrested at school. His response was sobbing as he covered his face with his hand. I suddenly remembered Xao Nhi's worried expression not long ago, feeling a bad premonition rising. "You weren't going far. Were you being detained?" Trin Vong said nothing, his cries growing louder. "It was you who sold out Xao Nhi's pen name, wasn't it?" At this moment, what else didn't I understand? This man betrayed his wife and child for his own life. I raised my hand and slapped his face hard. "Shame. She's carrying your child. Are you truly still human?" I was so enraged I almost fainted, clutching the nearby desk lamp, intending to smash it over his head, but at that moment, I paused. For a scoundrel like you, it really isn't worth it. If it were before, I would have long skinned you. Now, the important thing is to rescue Chan and I. The school stepped in, demanding Chan and I and other patriots' release. But the authorities passed the buck, no one willing to take responsibility. Chan and I, under that pen name, had scolded them from top to bottom. Even if they eventually had to release her, they would make her suffer. Worried for her being pregnant, I went out joining protests, hoping to pressure them to release Chan and I quickly, but the results were minimal. I remembered the eyes of the people watching me and Chan and I on the street and thought of a good plan. I cut my long hair down to the waist, shaved my head bald. I wore the cheapao Chan and I used to wear, walking to the bustling, most crowded street. A simple woman wouldn't attract attention. A flamboyant woman could draw eyes. But a flamboyant woman with a shaved head would arouse immense curiosity. I wore the cheapao, head shaved bald, my appearance both strange and bizarre, indeed attracting great attention. I learned from Chan and I, holding my head high. "Fellow countrymen, wake up. Open your eyes to see this cruel scene. The patriots who have devoted themselves to our nation, what crime do they have? This selfish, cowardly government aids invaders in oppressing their own people. We cannot stand idle. History will not forgive you. Please, immediately release the patriots. Release Tan Kanjia." Chan and I has returned. Seeing her belly deflated, I said nothing and directly applied for long-term leave from school. She revitalized her spirit. The first thing she did was to publish in the newspaper announcing her divorce from Trin Vong, declaring a lifetime dissociation from each other. After the divorce, Trin Vong discarded his final mask, fully siding with the enemies of the people, cursing his old comrades. And Chan and I didn't need to disguise herself anymore. When her pen name was exposed, she became even stronger. "Yi and Gi, tell me, what should we do to save this country? If my blood can awaken more of our fellow citizens, then it's worth it." She wrote even more sharply, straightforwardly criticizing. One day, I discovered Chan and I had also shaved her head. "You cut off your long hair to save me. How can I let you endure this ridicule alone?" She led me to a temple. Seeing the familiar statue, a vague feeling emerged in my heart. "This is..." Chan and I looked at me with surprise. "You don't know General Lin too? How unfortunate for someone who has read history. Men swear brotherhood to Guangdong, but women swear sisterhood to General Lin too. As long as we swear before General Lin too and imprint a red seal on the back of our hands, we shall be sworn sisters for life. Later, if we see a sister in difficulty with the red mark on her hand, even if we can help, we must help. That's the rule of swearing to General Lin too." After hundreds of years, I once again voiced deep-seated promises from the depths of my memory. Today, I swear, for lifetimes eternal we are sisters, daughters with one heart, a steadfast oath. Sailing together through storm and tempest, we will overcome hardship, unchanging oath. Heaven and earth be witness. I went to the battlefield to treat the wounded, while Chan and I stayed behind the lines. The only way for us to communicate was through letters. Sometimes she scolded herself for being blind, wondering why she ever chose a fickle man like Trinvong. At times she felt sad, thinking that all she could do was write a few articles and nothing more for the nation. Mostly, she urged me to take care of my safety. She kept writing, and in her spare time, translated progressive books from abroad. War is inherently merciless. During one battle, our camp was attacked suddenly. I fell amid the bombardment, looked at the red mark on my hand, and slowly closed my eyes. It's a pity I couldn't see the day of our victory. My journey ends here, the rest is up to you. It's still a girl, drown it. Why does it have no worth? Take it away, abandon it. 3 initial times, I couldn't reincarnate successfully. Either drowned, thrown into a well full of decaying infant corpses, or left outside for beasts to devour. For the first time in several lives, I felt panic. What is this world? It's truly abnormal. Luckily, on the 5th attempt, I finally reincarnated successfully. Though my parents didn't favor me because I was a girl, as they had no other children, they reluctantly raised me. I thought my name was Hateful Sister, but one day I discovered my real name was Weak Sister. My father named me, hoping all the sisters after me would perish. Perhaps because I had many sisters after me, he had no other sons. To continue the family line, he took in the eldest son of the eldest uncle as an adopted son to ensure there was someone to inherit after his death. From childhood, I had to work tirelessly, while the adopted brother had nothing to do. A losing proposition. He called me that, as told by my mother. Whenever I heard that term, I would start a fight with him. I learned martial arts, knowing exactly where to hit to cause pain but not leave a mark. Unable to defeat me, he went and complained to mother. At that point, she would indiscriminately punish me. She had bowed all her life, yet she straightened her back to treat me as an enemy. At those times, I remained silent, letting each stick fall on my body, my gaze never leaving the direction of my brother. Next time, I would strike him even harder. After a few times, he no longer dared to tease me. In my free time, I would secretly go to the nearby school to eavesdrop on lectures, hoping to hear familiar names. Today we will study the works of New Farming Person. A child raised their hand. Teacher, New Farming Person sounds strange. Is it a name? The teacher smiled and explained. New means modern era. Farming person refers to the people. One can consider it as the people of the new era. In fact, there is a theory that New Farming Person is indeed Chan and I. But the more accepted theory is that this pen name belongs to her ex-husband, Trinvong. People think a woman couldn't have such sharp ideas, so she adopted this pen name to take the blame for her husband. In the past, when Trinvong was captured, not long after, his wife volunteered that she was New Farming Person, requesting his release. Their divorce and public announcements were all to protect Trinvong. Of course, some don't agree with this theory, and the two sides continue to argue, so the articles by New Farming Person remain unsigned. The teacher laughed and said, they might not still have a good relationship. Nonsense. I jumped from the corner, loudly. You're poisoning the students. The teacher crossed her arms. How am I talking nonsense? That's what the textbooks teach. Are textbooks supposed to be correct? I had heard this rebuttal in a previous life, but had no time to dwell on it. Do you know Luke Yuyingi? The teacher indeed knew. You mean Luke Yuyingi, known as the bald sister duo with Chan and I? She pondered for a moment and then replied, as long as one acknowledges the women of the Nuong Tu army, why not lend a hand? The princess was about to get married. Yet, she was the last to know about it. On the day the army returned triumphantly to the capital, I accompanied the princess to attend the banquet. During the feast, a high-ranking official suddenly stood up, his face serious. Women are inherently weak. They should stay at home to handle embroidery, take care of their husbands, and teach their children. This is their calling. Once he finished speaking, most of the dignitaries agreed. Men should be outside, women should be inside. That is the natural way. The battlefield ultimately does not suit women. Moreover, if women are constantly seen outside, where are the morals, family traditions? Over time, it would surely cause a disruption of customs. In the Great Hall, discussions demanding women return to the inner chambers were endless. The princess stood in the middle of the hall, adorned in a magnificent court dress, still exuding a chilling aura. She slowly scanned the high-ranking officials, her gaze as sharp as a blade. "Gentlemen, today you have chilled my heart excessively. Heaven and earth have always viewed women as weak, merely due to prejudice. My sisters on the battlefield have never been inferior to men. Moreover, the country's fate involves even the common citizens. Women are also the people of the nation. When the country is in danger, why use gender as a measure to deprive them of their right to protect the homeland?" A young official stepped forward, gently speaking. "The princess's words are reasonable, but women being outside for a long time, in general, bring many inconveniences. If prolonged, it may cause family discord, social instability." The princess laughed coldly. "The words spoken by the official are wrong. Whether a family is harmonious or not, it's due to human hearts, not because women are outside. The sisters in Nuang Tu army all possess loyalty and filial piety, willing to devote themselves to the nation, ready to pay the price. If you only wish to suppress their talents and ambitions due to prejudice, then that is a loss more than gain." In the end, the emperor was the one to decide. He arranged a marriage for the princess with a literary official of the great prince. He also ordered the withdrawal of her military power. After the banquet, I went to the princess's room. She wore a splendid floral dress, leaned against the soft couch, her eyes dimly looking out the window, resembling a child who had just lost their goal. "Princess," I quietly called, pulling her back to reality. She reluctantly forced a smile. "If the princess does not wish to marry, you may seek out the great prince for a conversation. After all, he is your brother." My first reaction was to advise her to seek help from the great prince. In my past life, the relationship between me and my brother was very good. If I did not want to marry, my brother definitely would not force me. But the princess gently explained the relationship within it. The military power in her hand was the chess piece the emperor left for the next emperor. Whom the emperor married her to was synonymous with choosing the successor to the throne. Finally, the emperor chose the great prince. She lightly sighed, shook her head. "The situation is already determined. It's useless." I couldn't believe it. "He is your brother after all. How could it be this way?" She smiled bitterly. "Being a brother, does it matter? Isn't the world full of stories of brotherly conflict?" Only at that moment did I realize that not only spouses and masters are unreliable, but even siblings. I gritted my teeth. What is important about military power? Let it go, the person we recognize as princess, not the power in your hand. As long as the princess wishes, our Nuang Tu army is ready to support you in becoming the first queen in history. Even I didn't realize how much I had been influenced by my sisters. I boldly uttered such outrageous words without changing my expression. Lai Lin Tu's eyes shifted slightly, but she eventually shook her head. Blades are created to point at outside enemies, not to confront one's own people. Hearing these words, I knew that the ambitious Princess Lai Lin Tu finally had a weakness. The Nuang Tu army is her weakness. After the emperor promised to treat the Nuang Tu army well, the princess eventually agreed to marry. The vibrant and carefree princess was no more, replaced by the minister's wife, confined within the rules of the inner chamber. After marriage, she seldom appeared before others, gradually disappearing from the world's view. She and the consort had no affection. It wasn't until she got married that she realized the consort already had a beloved childhood sweetheart. In order to claim the throne, the great prince instructed him to feign deep affection and propose to the princess. That year, heavy snow fell on the capital like an ominous omen. Indeed, the Man tribe was struck by a natural disaster, exhaustively launching an attack southwards. The new emperor had just ascended, But the armies guarding the territories were not their match. The foreign tribes pressed straightforwardly outside the city. The new emperor dispatched his most elite troops to defend, but suffered great defeat at the city outskirts. The foreign menace drew near, blades pointed straight at the capital, but within the palace, there was no more military force to dispatch. As despair encroached upon everyone, someone mentioned the Nuong Tu army. The Nuong Tu army had once defended the border for 8 years. They are the ones most familiar with the foreign tribes. Maybe they could still fight. That statement was like a stone falling into a tranquil lake, stirring up waves. The imperial edict from the palace was issued. The princess who was once confined to her chamber once again donned her battle armor. Lai Lin too seized the opportunity, leading the Nuong Tu army directly into the central forces of the enemy troops. The enemy formation immediately fell into disarray, quickly splitting apart. In the end, I could not stop her. I had to let her stand and teach all day. At night, she lay exhausted at the desk, taking medicine. After taking the students into the exam room, she could no longer bear it and fell ill. Only 24 days after surgery, she stood on the teaching platform again. This class did not disappoint her. All students were accepted into university. The school did not hold a graduation ceremony. Yes, she said, I don't need your tears. I need you to be filled with confidence, strategically aiming for new goals. Many years later, I entered the medical field with familiarity, hoping to alleviate the pain for Truong Mai Koi. When I examined her health, I realized her condition was much more severe than I had imagined. Each time gently touching her skin, she felt pain that I urged her to rest, but I couldn't stop her. I could only try my best to improve her health. The girls called her Mother Truong. She was the mother of thousands of girls like us. Some graduates quit high-paying jobs in the city to return as teachers at the school, and some girls donated part of their salaries to the school. Graduates from here all help junior students in their own ways, just as their seniors helped them. I collaborated with a pharmaceutical factory, handing over some remedies I had collected over generations, helping to mitigate the school's financial issues. Over the past 10 years, she has led many generations of students out of the mountains, and I also have an appointment. September 9th, 2025. I stand at the intersection of P Street and Hongxing Street in Guanghan City, Jiang Province. I wear an ancient costume, with a slightly worn silver hairpin in my hair. The time is drawing closer, and my palms are sweaty. I'm afraid I can't save my sister. And I'm afraid she will remember the wrong day. I'm following the style my sister described, quietly looking around the crowd. The light suddenly catches my eye. Hey, get out of the way. The billboard is falling. I see the girl standing under the billboard, and without thinking, I rush forward. Oh, she exclaims as I rush to save her, then looks at the spot where she was standing with a pale face. A large billboard falls, hitting the rocky ground with a loud crash, creating a big hole. The girl is frightened, clutching her chest, and keeps saying, "Oh, you scared me to death. Thank you so much." I smile and shake my head. I should be the one thanking her. If it weren't for her, I might not have had the courage to stand firm until this day. This time, she can be herself, no longer have to be a humiliated woman in that cannibalistic society. That I wink at her and remove the silver hairpin from my hair. This was meant to be given to my sister, and since we have such fate, I'll give it to you. After 1,000 years, this pin finally reaches her hands. Yes, I help her pin the hairpin in place. My eyes catch a red mark on the back of her hand. Suddenly, my eyes stung. With familiar faces quickly surfacing in my mind, I remember Lai Lin too. Remember Chan and I. Remember Truong Mai Koi. Remember those I've met 1,000 years ago. The flame passes on. The flame passes on. Point one day, the world will become what we wish for, won't it?